Okay, so um, here's a little shortened version of one of Christine Mandy's starters jumpers classes from PEI when I was there last October. So in the original um, uh, course that I did, we actually started down here and we ran up here and we did a wrap here and went back down here and then up like that. But I cut out that first run up, and also there was like extra jumps in here, but I didn't add them in because my space is not as big as the space we were trialing in last year. So anyway, I just thought maybe 10 obstacles would be nice to start. So we'll start at the tunnel. So I guess I'll just draw out like sort of the course, and then I'll sort of break it down how you could train it. So you're not going to just kind of go in and try to do the course right off the bat. So if you wanted to reward the tunnel, you would just obviously like send your dog into the tunnel. Um, so you can do like a start line, or often like you can just and you can verify with the judge. Just ask. Usually they do. It's not a problem. If you're not supposed to touch your dog on course. If you do, I think you're disqualified. But you can touch them at the start. Like you can take them by the collar. So you could hold the collar, do a collar grab. That's what I do with Esker. May or may not work for your dogs. So Esker kind of riles them up a little bit. So I can start with the collar grab and then send to the tunnel, and then okay, but just one thing. When we started down here, we had to run up here, and so the dogs went this way. The handler, so the handler's running up here. If the handler tried to run up to the tunnel too, you're gonna run out of room. Your dog is gonna be out of the tunnel and turning around before you're there, right? So, so what I would have done is run up here and kind of kept closer over there and sent the dog um, to the tunnel. So I would have been like making a shortcut and then kind of meet the dog over here by this wing, and then get them into or get them doing their wrap. Now, I don't have you starting way down here, so it's not such of a big deal. But if you can get some distance from the tunnel, that's a good thing to have. And but anyway, so you're going to send. So the dog's going to go 1, 2, and then back to 3. It's unlikely that you're going to turn them that way, because it's a little. Usually, it means you kind of got to get over here, and why would you do that? Because it just makes you have to run further. So the rat's gonna be back into the tunnel. So on course, so this tunnel was a bit close to that jump. So if you had a wide turn here and you weren't there, you were kind of risking the dog maybe going in here. So ideally, you would be next to the, you would get up here as close to the wing as you can. So anyway, then we go back into the tunnel, and then so the handler is going to try to run a little more that way as opposed to running that way, because you got a really long way to run down here. So that just makes you have to run further if you don't have to run like that space, right? So you just stay close to this tunnel. Send your dog to the tunnel. And so dog comes out. So you want to get, even with this, when you're coming out this side here, you want to get your check cue out really early. So when your dog comes to the tunnel, they know where they're going. So here, you want to say jump, right? And you're going to use your right arm. You have at this point. So this is your first, that right there is your first side change. And that's a front cross. So then you're just running straight down here. And here I would probably use a check cue. If you don't and they go wide, they can probably go off and like take that jump or something. Anyway, I would use a check. So then the dog comes up here and goes up here. So you are on this side when the dog is coming down to number 5 and to number 6. Then at some point when you are going, the dog is going from 8 to 9, you need to be on this side of the dog. So you can't stay dog on right here. You have to do a side change either like here or here. Hope that makes sense. Okay, I gotta get rid of all these dash marks now. Okay, so then, and then the dog has to go this way, so there's usually another side change here, here or here. Okay, so for the handling for that, okay, so dog is coming down here, you are dog on right, check, 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 check. So the handler is running down here. So you could, at this point, come in here for a front or a blind. And then you pick the dog up on your new arm, which is now your left arm. And then you can continue up here, and your dogs are always going to want to curve in towards you, right? So the dog is curving towards you, like, you know, on the circle around you. So you're on the inside. And that's a shorter path for the handler. The other option here is that the dog comes down here and you stay, you come down here and you sort of don't go all the way down to number 6 because that's wasted running. But figure out what your dog needs, and with younger, more inexperienced dogs, you will have to go farther, but you will have a bit of time if you decided to rear cross. So you might even have a little bit more room to kind of get down here. So, and then you'll pick the dog, you'll keep the dog on your right, and then you cue jump, and then you immediately cue tunnel. And you show your dog pressure on the line and you start to cross behind them. The dog should take the tunnel if you have that right. So you want to have your right arm pointed towards the tunnel as you're sort of crossing behind them. You know, there is a bit of a risk. If you push too hard in that line, they might go over here. If you don't push hard enough, they might kind of go, oh, what do you want, and go over here or something like that. You do have a little bit less control with a rear cross, and I think for Lucy, Lucy probably does better with Dana out in front of her, so I would probably do the front cross. Now you could probably even do a front cross here as well. So you're still dog on right, and then you come out and you front cross here. And then you're on this side, and then you send the dog to the tunnel. So I'll just do dog's path again here. Okay, so dog's up here, however you got them there. So coming down here, you could do like same thing. So the dog is, you know, they're coming out here and they're turning, they're on their right lead, and then this way they're on their left lead. So you gotta think about leads too. So, and the handler is here. So you're either gonna wanna, you can come out and front cross. Now if you front cross, you have to get out there while they're in the tunnel and call their name. You don't want, if you are moving that way as they're coming out of the tunnel, you're going to push them that way. Okay, so you want to get there before they come out of the tunnel, and then maybe they'll go, oh, okay, and then and so you've already got your new, you're already over here, your new arm is up, which is your right arm, and then you send them, and then you can just continue on down here. It's probably a bit awkward to do a front cross here because you have to run and get it ahead of them again. You could blind it, well, here you could blind it, so if you're ahead, same thing though, you need to be ahead so that the dog doesn't just run off that direction again, same as for the front. The other thing is you could rear cross, so you're here and then you wait for your dog to come out of the tunnel, and then you can rear cross here, so you send your dog ahead and you cue switch and you continue this direction, and there's no, I mean, maybe they'll go that way, but I think probably pretty likely there's not really a lot of other jumps out here, so that's something to keep an eye out for when you're looking at course maps. And we haven't practiced this yet with your dogs, but with Esker, I could come down here and I could rear cross here. So like I could rear cross before this jump. So it's called a rear cross on the flat. So for training, you could just do tunnel and reward here. You could do tunnel and check, 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 reward the wrap right there. You could do tunnel, check, 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 tunnel, and then reward here. So in this scenario, you're going to really want to work on, so you're going to be here to do the check, and you're going to work on being able to sort of cut off that, or at least don't go right in there, if you can even do that sort of a thing, so it's less distance. You don't want to get sucked into the tunnels. And then if you can do this, your dog might come out and it might see you and it might try to turn towards you, but you keep putting pressure this way, and then hopefully the dog will go that way. So it'll be a really good idea to toss a reward right there to reward the dog for moving, listening to you. So you have your right arm up and cueing jump and putting pressure that way on their line. So then I would reward there. That's a good little piece to practice. And okay, so then another little piece to practice, you could just do, you could do tunnel all the way down here, or you could just, start here and go down. You don't always have to do a start line, like a sit start either. You could be right here and you could send them to the tunnel over there, and then it gives you time to get ready for when they come out. You can do, if you wanted to just practice this piece here, you could start it by just do it like, that's not the way it is on the map, but you could just check, check, check. So the dog starts to go like that way towards the jump, and then it gives you time to start moving down this way. Hope that makes sense. But you don't always have to take this exactly in flow. So when you go in, if you're running for exhibition only, then you can kind of make up what you want to do, and you don't always have to do a start line. So you could, think about that. Just send them to a tunnel or send them to rapid jump, and then you get in position to do your next thing. So say we did that, and it came down here, and then you do not want to get caught too close down here, because then you got to get way back up there. So you could practice coming maybe this far down, and send the dog. So really point to that jump with your right arm. Maybe hold your position a little bit, or just start to sort of decel and not be a full outrun towards it. And then toss your reward here. So that's going to reward the dog for committing to this jump away from you. So that's a really, really good thing to practice. It's really nice when you got, if you got a good tunnel send, you know, in your, because it lets you sort of send the dog to the tunnel and make the, cut things off. It's a little bit harder sometimes with the jump. It doesn't quite stand out quite as much to dogs as the tunnel does, and the dog doesn't have to run through it, so you don't have that time to get in another position. So it's really good to reward out far away from you and keep building that skill up over time. So you could practice your cross. So think about if you want to do front cross or a rear cross and where you want to do it. So you could just be here, and you could send your dog to check, 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 and you want your dog to do that, and then you can practice doing your cross. Now actually, you can front cross here. It does sort of start to change, like pull the dog a little bit that way too. Do kind of like coming up here and then doing a rear, but I think try different things and see what works for you and your dog and where you guys are at with it. So, and then another thing you could practice is start the dog here and send them into the tunnel and then come back out. So you could practice cutting this off again, and then practice whatever cross you decide you're going to do. If you're going to do like a front here or a blind. But anyway, that's just sort of ways to, you might not have time to do all those different little bits of practice, but decide what you want to work on. And that's kind of ways you can break it down for tomorrow, and things to think about for if you're doing FEO in the trial. So if you're doing FEO in the trial and you don't have a toy motivated dog, and you can't reward in the ring, like I know Lucy, I'm not really sure if she'll go for a toy, but I know she likes the scratches and stuff, so maybe that works. But if you do have food outside and you wanted to go in and say you wanted to practice this here, you could come down here, and you could even, once she does this, you could mark and reward, or not reward, you could mark and just say, let's go get our treats, and then so you run to the gate. So, or whatever your remote reinforcement cue is, like I know Sabrina says follow me, and I really like that one. I'm starting to use that. So this is when you say follow me or let's go get our treats, it means what you did here was correct. Now we're going to go get our treats, right? So you can do a longer sequence than that, but that's just an example. Okay, anyway, I think that's it. It's probably long enough.